The great hall on Nexus Prime buzzed with angry voices. 47 different alien species sat in their special chairs, each one designed for their unique bodies. Some had tentacles, others had wings, and a few looked like giant insects. They all had one thing in common today. They were mad at humans. Ambassador Zektar stood up from his seat. His body looked like a mix between a crab and a spider, with thick armor covering his chest. His 4 eyes glowed red with anger. When he spoke, a small device on his neck changed his clicking sounds into words everyone could understand. "The humans have gone too far this time," Zektar said, his voice echoing through the hall. "They ignore our laws. They fly their ships wherever they want. They build colonies in our space without asking. They treat us like we don't matter." Murmurs of agreement filled the room. The Galactic Council had been the most powerful group in the galaxy for over 3,000 years. Every smart species joined the council. Every smart species followed the rules. Every smart species except humans. "They laugh at our trade agreements," said Council Leader Mordock, a tall blue creature with 6 arms. "They refuse to pay the taxes we set. They won't even send a real ambassador to our meetings." This was true. Humans had sent a robot to represent them at council meetings. The robot just sat there and recorded everything. When the council asked it questions, it said, "I will pass your message to my superiors, and nothing else. What do the humans think they are?" shouted General Crix from the military section. He looked like a giant lizard wearing a uniform covered in metals. "They appeared in space only 200 years ago. We have been traveling between stars for thousands of years. They should bow down to us." More voices joined in. The Vorthik Empire complained about human traders selling goods too cheap. The hegemony was angry because humans wouldn't share their technology. The Serpentine Dominion claimed humans had stolen 3 of their best planets. "I have tried to be patient," Zektar continued. "My people sent them warnings. We told them to follow our rules or face the consequences. Do you know what they did? They sent back a message saying, 'Thank you for your input,' and kept doing whatever they wanted." The council chamber erupted in angry sounds. Some aliens hissed, others roared, and a few made noises that hurt to hear. "Enough," Mordock called out, raising all 6 arms. The room became quiet. "We have been too soft. The humans think they can do whatever they want because we have been nice. It is time to show them who really rules this galaxy. What do you suggest?" asked Ambassador Velshin of the Crystal Collective. Her body looked like living glass that changed colors when she spoke. "War," Mordock said simply. "We declare war on the Human Federation. We show them what happens when a young species tries to challenge the natural order." The word war made the room buzz with excitement and fear. The council had not declared war on anyone for over 800 years. The last species that challenged them had surrendered within days when they saw the size of the council fleet. "Are we sure about this?" asked Elder Tokmar from the back of the room. His species was one of the oldest in the galaxy, and he rarely spoke at meetings. "The humans are different from other species we have dealt with." "Different how?" Zektar snapped. "They are young and stupid. They have small ships and weak weapons. Their biggest colony has less than 10 million people. We have single cities with more population than their entire space territory." Elder Tokmar was quiet for a moment. "I have studied the humans for many years. They do not think like us. They do not act like us. Maybe we should try to understand them better before we understand them?" General Crix interrupted. "There is nothing to understand. They are bugs that need to be stepped on before they become a real problem." The vote was called. One by one, each species announced their decision. The Vorthik Empire voted for war. The Hegemony voted for war. The Serpentine Dominion voted for war. Species after species voted the same way. Only 3 groups voted differently: the Peaceful, Collective, and Neutral Zone Alliance, and Elder Tokmar's people abstained from voting. "The decision is made," Mordock announced. "As of this moment, the Galactic Council is at war with the Human Federation. We will send them our declaration immediately. I expect their surrender within 1 standard week." The great hall filled with cheers and celebration. Finally, the humans would learn their place in the galaxy. Finally, the proper order would be restored. The message was sent through the fastest communication network in the galaxy. It reached Earth in less than 6 hours. The message was formal and threatening, explaining that humanity had violated countless laws and must surrender immediately or face total destruction. On Earth, it was a normal Monday morning. Admiral Jack Morrison sat in his office at Federation headquarters in Geneva, drinking coffee and reading reports. His assistant, Lieutenant Carol Davis, brought him a stack of messages from overnight. "Anything important?" Jack asked, not looking up from his newspaper. "The usual stuff, sir. Trade reports, colony updates, and something from some aliens declaring war on us." Jack took a sip of his coffee and turned the page of his newspaper. "Aliens declaring war? Which ones this time?" "Something called the Galactic Council, sir. Never heard of them." Jack set down his coffee and looked at the message on his computer screen. He read it while finishing his breakfast sandwich. "Looks like standard political nonsense. Forward it to the State Department. They handle this kind of thing." "Should I mark it as urgent, sir?" Jack shrugged. "Not really. The Transportation Committee meeting is at 10. That's more important than whatever these aliens think they're doing." At the same time, President Lisa Martinez was in Washington having a budget meeting with Congress. Her aide, Kevin Brown, walked into the room quietly and handed her a tablet. "What is it?" She whispered. "Some aliens declared war on us, ma'am." President Martinez looked at the tablet for about 10 seconds, then handed it back. "Handle it through normal channels, Kevin. Right now I need to focus on getting the infrastructure bill passed." Across the galaxy, Captain Ryan Kelly of the exploration ship UFS Discovery was mapping a new star system. His science officer, Lieutenant Amy Foster, had just found something amazing. "Captain, look at this," Amy said excitedly. "These crystals are showing signs of organized growth patterns. They might be alive." "Really? That's incredible. Start a full analysis." This could be the discovery of the year. Neither of them knew that their species was now officially at war. They had more important things to worry about, like exploring the wonders of the universe. Back on Nexus Prime, the Council waited for humanity's response. Surely the humans would panic. Surely they would beg for mercy. Surely they would realize they had made a terrible mistake. They had no idea how wrong they were. 3 weeks had passed since the Galactic Council declared war on humanity. The alien leaders sat in their emergency meeting room, staring at empty communication screens. They had expected panic from Earth. They had expected desperate messages, begging for peace. They had expected something. Instead, they got nothing. "This is impossible," Ambassador Zektar said, pacing back and forth on his spider-like legs. "How can an entire species just ignore a declaration of war?" General Crix slammed his scaly fist on the table. "Maybe their communication systems are broken. Maybe they never got our message." "We sent it through 12 different networks," replied Mordock. "The message reached Earth. Our spies confirmed it was delivered to their government buildings." "Then why haven't they responded?" asked Velshin, her crystal body flickering between blue and red colors. Elder Tokmar, who had been quiet during the meeting, finally spoke. "Perhaps we should consider that they simply do not care about our declaration." The room fell silent. The idea that anyone could not care about the mighty Galactic Council was almost too shocking to believe. "Impossible," Zektar hissed. "No species, Ignores the council. It has never happened in 3,000 years. Check the intelligence reports again. Ordered more single quotes. The screen in front of them showed images from human colonies across space. Construction crews were still building new cities. Cargo ships flew their normal routes between planets. Children played in parks while their parents went to work. Everything looked completely normal. Look at this, said Intelligence Chief Curval, pointing at the screen. This is New Angeles, their biggest colony in the disputed territory. They are still expanding it. They have added 3 new districts since we declared war. What about their military? General Crix demanded. No changes, sir. Their fleet patrols are following the same schedules as before. No additional ships have been deployed. No emergency meetings have been called. Zektar's 4 eyes bulged with disbelief. This cannot be real. Show me their news broadcasts. The screen changed to show a human news program. A woman with brown hair sat behind a desk, reading from papers in front of her. Good evening. I'm Janet Miller with the 6 o'clock news. Today's top story. The City Council approved the new recycling program for downtown districts. Mayor Thompson says the program will reduce waste by 30% over the next 5 years. Aliens watched in stunned silence as the human reporter continued with stories about weather, sports, and a new restaurant opening. There was no mention of war, no discussion of the galactic situation, nothing about the Council's declaration. Change the channel, Mordak said weakly. They watched 5 more news programs. The humans talked about their jobs, their families, their local politics. One program spent 20 minutes discussing the best way to grow tomatoes in space colonies. Another showed humans laughing at comedy shows. This is insulting, General Crix roared. How dare they ignore us like this? Maybe they are planning something secret, suggested Velshin. Maybe they are preparing a massive attack while pretending nothing is wrong. Check their military communications, ordered Zektar. The intelligence chief pulled up intercepted human military messages. The aliens leaned forward, expecting to see battle plans and invasion strategies. Instead, they found routine paperwork. Supply. Request for Station Alpha 7. 200 cases of coffee, 50 cases of soap, repair parts for air recycling units. Maintenance report for UFS Liberty. Engine cleaning completed, ready for next patrol mission. Personnel transfer. Lieutenant Scott Williams reassigned from Mars Base to Europa Station. Transport scheduled for next Tuesday. Where are their war plans? Zektar demanded. I don't see any, sir. They seem to be conducting normal operations. The council members looked at each other in confusion. This was not how civilized species behaved during wartime. Maybe we need to remind them that we are at war, said Mordak. Send another message. Make it clearer this time. The second message was written by their best diplomatic writers. It explained in simple terms that the Galactic Council had declared war on humanity. It listed their violations of galactic law. It demanded immediate surrender or face total destruction. The response came back 2 days later. It was a form letter from the Federation Department of External Affairs, signed by someone named Steve Patterson. Dear Galactic Council, the letter began. Thank you for your communication regarding a state of hostilities between our peoples. Your concern has been noted and forwarded to the appropriate department for review. Please allow 6 to 8 weeks for processing. Due to high volume, we cannot respond to individual inquiries about the status of your request. Have a pleasant day. The alien leaders stared at the letter in shock. 6 to 8 weeks? Zektar whispered, double quotes, the ... They think this is a customer service complaint, said Velshin. This is worse than being ignored, General Crix said. They are treating us like we filed a noise complaint with their government. Meanwhile, on Earth, life continued as normal. Dr. Helen Wright, humanity's top expert on alien psychology, appeared on a morning talk show hosted by Dan Mitchell. Dr. Wright, can you explain why humans seem so unconcerned about this war declaration? Dan asked. Helen smiled. It's quite simple, Dan. Most humans view the Galactic Council as completely irrelevant to their daily lives. Imagine if a homeowners association from a neighborhood you've never visited declared war on your entire country. Technically it happened, but practically speaking, who cares? But surely the government is taking this seriously? The government handles thousands of diplomatic communications every day. This is just one more piece of paperwork in a very big pile. Besides, the transportation bill is up for vote next week. That affects millions of human lives directly. Some aliens being upset about trade routes affects nobody that most people know. On the frontier world of new prosperity, Farmer Pete Johnson continued planting his crops. A news crew had traveled to the outer colonies to ask people about the war. Are you worried about the alien threat? Asked reporter Lisa Chung. Pete looked up from his tractor and shrugged. Harvest won't wait for politics. My corn needs to be planted this week, or the whole season is ruined. Besides, if some aliens actually show up here, my neighbors and I will deal with it. How would you deal with it? Same way we deal with everything else out here. We'll figure it out when it happens. Back in the council chambers, the alien leaders were beginning to realize they had made a serious miscalculation. These humans, Elder Takmar said quietly, they are not like other species. They do not fear authority. They do not recognize. They do not respect power. They have not chosen to respect. What are you saying? Demanded Zektar. I am saying we may have declared war on a species that does not believe we have the right to declare war on them. The room fell silent as the horrible truth began to sink in. The mighty Galactic Council, rulers of the galaxy for 3 millennia, had just been treated like an annoying telemarketer. What do we do now? Whispered Mordak. Nobody had an answer. The Galactic Council had enough of waiting. If the humans would not take their war declaration seriously, then they would make them understand through action. General Crix stood before a massive holographic display showing the largest fleet the galaxy had seen in centuries. 200 warships from 12 different species, he announced proudly. The humans will finally learn to respect the Council. The fleet gathered at the edge of human space, near a small mining colony called Haven's Rest. It was perfect for their demonstration. The colony had only 50,000 people and minimal defenses. One quick attack would show the humans that the Council meant business. Admiral Crickstal of the Serpentine Dominion commanded the fleet from his flagship. His snake-like body coiled around his command chair as he studied the human colony on his screens. This will be easy, he hissed to his officers. Look at their defenses. 3 small orbital platforms and maybe a dozen patrol ships. We have 200 warships. They will surrender before we even fire a shot. The massive alien fleet dropped out of hyperspace near Haven's Rest. Crickstal expected immediate panic from the human colony. He expected desperate calls for help. He expected surrender. Instead, he received a cheerful greeting message. Hello there, visitors, came a friendly human voice over the radio. This is Governor Paul Henderson of Haven's Rest. Welcome to our system. If you're here for the Mining Consortium Conference, please proceed to Landing Bay 7. Otherwise, please state your business and follow our standard quarantine procedures. Crickstal stared at his communication officer in disbelief. Did he just welcome us? Yes, sir. He seems to think we're here for some kind of business meeting. The Admiral activated his own transmitter. Human colony, this is Admiral Crickstal of the Galactic Council Fleet. We are here to conquer your world. Surrender immediately or face destruction. There was a long pause. Then Governor Henderson's voice came back, sounding slightly confused, but still polite. I'm sorry, Admiral, But do you have the proper permits for military action in this system? I'll need to see documentation from the Federation Department of Defense, an environmental impact assessment, and approval from the Colonial Administration Office. We can't allow unauthorized military activities without the right paperwork. The alien bridge crew looked at each other in stunned silence. Even in the face of overwhelming force, the human was asking for paperwork. "I don't need permits," Krikstal roared into his microphone. "I have 200 warships. That is all the authority I need." "Well, that's not really how it works here," Governor Henderson replied calmly. "Look, why don't you dock at the main station, and we can sort this out properly. I'm sure there's been some kind of misunderstanding." General Krix, listening from the council chambers, was furious. Attack them now. Show these humans what real power looks like. Krikstal gave the order. His fleet opened fire on the 3 orbital defense platforms around Haven's Rest. The aliens expected the platforms to be destroyed instantly by their overwhelming firepower. Instead, something impossible happened. The human platforms fired back with weapons that seemed far too small to be dangerous. 3 council warships exploded before the aliens knew what hit them. "What happened?" Krikstal demanded. "I don't know, sir. Their weapons barely registered on our sensors. The power readings were minimal. Then how did they destroy 3 of our ships?" Nobody had an answer. The human weapons looked primitive compared to council technology, but they had just cut through advanced alien shields like they weren't even there. The radio crackled again. A new voice spoke, this one belonging to a woman who sounded completely calm despite the battle raging around her. "This is Commander Nicole Adams of the Haven Defense Corps. You are currently in violation of approximately 47 interstellar navigation laws, including unauthorized military action, failure to file proper transit documents, and disturbing the peace. Withdraw immediately, or we will be forced to file an official complaint." "An official complaint?" Krikstal repeated weakly. "Yes, sir. Your actions today will result in significant paperwork for everyone involved. I really don't want to spend my weekend filling out incident reports, so please leave now." 3 more alien ships tried to attack the human platforms. 3 more alien ships were destroyed by weapons that shouldn't have been able to harm them. "Sir," his weapons officer reported, "their defensive systems are using some kind of technology. We don't understand. Our shields can't stop their weapons." "That's impossible. We have the most advanced military technology in the galaxy." "Apparently not, sir." Commander Adams spoke again. "Look, I don't know what you people are trying to prove, but you're disrupting our mining operations. We have quotas to meet and families to feed. Take your ships and go home before someone gets hurt." Krikstal realized his grand demonstration was turning into a disaster. He had lost 6 ships to what the humans called a warning shot. His fleet of 200 warships was being lectured about paperwork by a mining colony's part-time security chief. "All ships withdraw to safe distance." He ordered Dot as the alien fleet retreated. They intercepted more human communications. What they heard made their defeat even more humiliating. "Paul, did those aliens ever file their environmental impact forms?" Commander Adams was asking Governor Henderson. "Nope, and they left without cleaning up the debris from their ships. I'm going to have to charge them for the cleanup costs. Add it to the complaint, along with the noise violation. My daughter was trying to study for her math test when they started shooting." "Math test?" "Yeah, she's learning calculus. Pretty advanced stuff for a 12-year-old, but she's smart like her mother." The aliens listening to this conversation felt sick. They had just been defeated by people who were more worried about a child's homework than a massive space battle. Back on Earth, the incident barely made the evening news. Anchor Chris Taylor mentioned it between the weather report and sports scores. In other news, some aliens caused a minor disturbance at the Haven's Rest mining colony today. No one was injured, and operations continue normally. Colony officials say the incident will not affect this quarter's mineral shipments. In sports, the Neo-Chicago Cubs are having their best season in decades. President Martinez was having dinner with her family when her aide Kevin Brown called her. Madam President, there was a small incident at Haven's Rest. Some aliens attacked the colony. Anyone hurt? She asked, not looking up from her meal. No, ma'am. The colony's defenses handled it easily. Good. Send them a thank you note and make sure they get any support they need. Is that all? Yes, ma'am. Then I'll talk to you tomorrow. I'm having dinner with my kids. On the frontier, life continued as normal. The miners of Haven's Rest went back to work the next morning as if nothing had happened. Governor Henderson sent his incident report to the proper authorities and returned to planning the new school construction project. Commander Adams picked up her daughter from school and helped her with calculus homework that most alien scientists would find challenging. The Galactic Council had just learned their first lesson about humanity. These people treated galaxy-shaking events like minor interruptions to their daily lives. The question was whether the Council was smart enough to learn from it. In the alien fleet, Admiral Crickstall stared at his casualty reports and wondered what kind of species they had declared war on. The humans weren't just ignoring the Council's authority. They were treating the Council's mightiest fleet like a nuisance to be swatted away. For the first time in 3,000 years, the Galactic Council was beginning to doubt their own power. The defeat at Haven's Rest sent shockwaves through the Galactic Council. Ambassador Ziktar paced around the emergency meeting room, his spider legs clicking angrily on the metal floor. This is impossible, he repeated for the 100th time. A mining colony with 3 defense platforms cannot defeat 200 warships. It violates every law of physics and military strategy. Yet it happened, Elder Takmar said quietly. Perhaps we underestimated these humans. General Crick slammed his fist on the table. No, this was a fluke. The Admiral was too careful. He should have used maximum force from the beginning. 6 ships destroyed is not careful, pointed out Morduk. It is a disaster. The Council had spent weeks arguing about what went wrong. Their military experts studied the battle recordings over and over. The human weapons looked primitive. The power readings were low. Yet somehow they had cut through Council shields, like they were made of paper. We need a bigger demonstration, General Crix declared. Something so large that even the humans cannot ignore it. What do you suggest? Asked Zektar. Luna City, the humans' first colony off their home planet. It has historical importance to them. If we attack there, they will finally take us seriously. The Council voted to approve the largest military operation in galactic history. Over 1,000 warships from 30 different species would participate. Surely no defense could stand against such overwhelming force. The fleet assembled slowly over several months. Each species contributed their most powerful warships. The combined firepower could destroy entire planets. This time, there would be no mistakes. Admiral Gorthic, a veteran commander from the hegemony, was chosen to lead the assault. His flagship was the size of a small moon, armed with weapons that could crack continents. This fleet could conquer half the galaxy, he told his officers. One human colony will not even slow us down. The massive armada approached Luna City, expecting to find terrified humans preparing for evacuation. Instead, they received another polite greeting message. Attention incoming vessels. This is Luna Traffic Control. You are approaching restricted airspace without proper clearance. Please transmit your identification codes and state your business. Admiral Gorthic decided not to waste time with words. All ships, prepare for immediate attack. Target their orbital platforms and military installations. Sir, his sensor officer reported, I'm having trouble identifying their military targets. The colony looks normal. People are walking around, ships are coming and going, children are playing in parks. What about their defenses? I see a few orbital platforms and some patrol ships. Nothing that should pose a threat to our fleet. The attack began with a massive bombardment aimed at Luna City's main defense station. The aliens expected the station to be destroyed instantly. Instead, something strange happened. A woman's voice came over the radio, calm and professional. All residents, please proceed to designated safe areas. This is not a drill, but remain calm and remember to validate your parking before leaving the garage levels. The defense station fired back at the alien fleet. Once again, the human weapons looked weak on the sensors. Once again, alien ships began exploding. How are they doing this? Admiral Gorthek demanded. His chief engineer studied the readings. Sir, they seem to be using our own weapons against us. Their defensive systems are somehow redirecting our energy beams back at our ships. That's impossible. Nevertheless, it's happening. Half of our first wave has been destroyed by reflected weapons fire. From inside Luna City's defense center, Security Chief Maria Santos coordinated the battle like she was organizing a fire. Drill. She had been a mining engineer before taking this job and still thought like one. Tony, try angling the deflector array at 37 degrees. She called to her assistant, Captain Tony Rodriguez. Tony was eating a sandwich while working at his control station. 37 degrees? That seems oddly specific. I did the math on this napkin. If we reverse the polarity on generators 3 through 7 and angle the array just right, their beam weapons should bounce straight back at them. Tony adjusted the controls with one hand while taking another bite of his sandwich. You know, Mariah, most people would be panicking right now. Why? It's just basic physics. Energy has to go somewhere. We're just making sure it goes back where it came from. The plan worked perfectly. The alien weapons fire was reflected back at their own ships with devastating effect. In less than an hour, the 1,000-ship fleet was reduced to 500 vessels. Admiral Gorthek watched his forces being destroyed by what appeared to be a handful of part-time security guards. This cannot be happening. We have the most advanced military in the galaxy. Apparently not, sir. His weapons officer replied weakly. The surviving alien ships retreated in panic, but not before their sensors picked up more human communications. What they heard made their defeat even more humiliating. Maria, my shift ends in 20 minutes, Tony was saying. Can you handle the rest of these aliens? I promised my wife I'd pick up groceries on the way home. Sure, no problem. There are only a few hundred ships left. I'll have them cleaned up before dinner. Thanks. We're having pizza tonight if you and your family want to join us. Sounds great. I'll bring dessert. The aliens listening to this conversation felt physically sick. The humans were discussing dinner plans while casually destroying the mightiest fleet ever assembled. On Earth, President Martinez was finally forced to address the situation during a routine press conference. Reporter Janet Stevens raised her hand. Madam President, some people are calling this a war. How do you respond to critics who say the administration isn't taking the alien threat seriously? Martinez looked genuinely confused. What war? Some aliens have been causing minor traffic disruptions around our colonies, but it's being handled through proper channels. Our local security forces have everything under control, but they attacked Luna City with over 1,000 ships. And Luna City handled it just fine. No casualties, minimal property damage. The colony's insurance will cover any repairs needed. Next question. Dr. Helen Wright appeared on news programs again to explain the situation to confused reporters. The key thing to understand, she told anchor Bob Miller, is that humans don't see this as a war in any traditional sense. To us, It's more like dealing with aggressive wildlife. You don't declare war on a swarm of angry bees. You just deal with them and move on with your day. But these are advanced alien civilizations with massive fleets. Are they advanced? They're. Technology can't penetrate basic human defenses. Their tactics are predictable. Their strategy seems to consist of showing up and shooting randomly. Most human teenagers playing video games could do better. Back at Luna City, life returned to normal within hours of the battle. The colony's maintenance crews cleaned up the debris from destroyed alien ships. Parents picked up their children from the safe areas and took them home for dinner. Captain Rodriguez kept his promise to his wife and stopped at the grocery store. The clerk asked him about the explosions she had seen in the sky. Oh, that was just some aliens having a tantrum, Tony explained while buying milk and bread. Maria handled it. She's good with that kind of thing. Will they be back? Tony shrugged. Maybe. If they do come back, we'll deal with it then. Right now, I need to get home. We're having pizza tonight. The Galactic Council faced a crisis worse than military defeat. They had discovered that their most powerful weapons were useless against humans who treated galaxy-shaking battles like minor workplace inconveniences. The question now was whether they were smart enough to stop before they embarrassed themselves further. Unfortunately for the Council, they had never learned when to quit. Elder Tokmar sat alone in his chambers, reviewing the battle reports. The humans weren't just winning these fights. They were winning while barely paying attention. What kind of species treats 1,000-ship invasion fleet like a pest control problem? The answer, he was beginning to realize, was a species that the galaxy was not ready to understand. The Galactic Council sat in their emergency chamber, staring at empty screens and casualty reports. 2 major military operations had failed completely. Over 800 of their best warships were destroyed. The humans had barely noticed either. Attack. We need answers, Ambassador Zektar said, his voice quiet with defeat. How can a species that appeared in space only 200 years ago defeat fleets that could conquer entire star systems? Elder Tokmar leaned forward in his chair. I propose we send spies to study human society directly. We need to understand what we are really fighting. Spies? General Crix laughed bitterly. What could spies tell us that our military censors cannot? They could tell us why a security guard eating a sandwich can destroy 1,000 warships. Tokmar replied. The Council voted to approve the most dangerous intelligence mission in their history. Agent Veltar, the best shapeshifter in the galaxy, would infiltrate human society on Earth itself. His mission was simple: discover the secret of human power. Veltar spent weeks studying human appearance and behavior before making his approach. He chose the identity of a construction worker and got a job building new apartment buildings in the city of Denver. On his first day, Veltar watched in amazement as human workers casually lifted steel beams that would require mechanical assistance. For most alien species, his supervisor, a man named Bobby Martinez, carried equipment that weighed more than some alien vehicles. You okay, buddy? Bobby asked, noticing Veltar staring. You look like you've never seen a construction site before. I am fine, Veltar replied carefully. I was just impressed by your strength. Bobby laughed. Strength? This is nothing. You should see my little brother. He's only 16, but he can bench press 300 pounds. Kid's going to play football in college. Veltar made notes in his hidden recorder. Human children possessed physical capabilities that exceeded most adult aliens. This was important information. During his lunch break, Veltar sat with the other workers and listened to their conversations. They talked about sports, their families, and their hobbies. One man mentioned that he built spaceships on weekends. As a hobby? Spaceships? Veltar asked, trying to sound casual. Yeah, nothing fancy, the man replied. Just a little two-seater that can reach Alpha Centauri. My daughter wants to visit the research station there for her science project. Veltar nearly choked on his sandwich. This human built interstellar spacecraft as a hobby project for his child's schoolwork. After work, Veltar followed some of the workers to a local bar. He overheard a conversation between two women at the next table. "My son is having trouble with his math homework," one woman said. "What grade is he in?" asked her friend. "Seventh grade. They're learning quantum mechanics this semester." "Oh, that's not too bad. Wait until he gets to advanced physics next year. My daughter struggled with interdimensional theory until I hired a tutor." Veltar's hands shook as he wrote in his notebook. Human children learned subjects that were considered cutting edge, science by the galaxy's most advanced civilizations. The next day, Veltar visited a public library to learn more about human education. The elderly librarian, Frank Wilson, was happy to help him find books. "Are you interested in any particular subject?" Frank asked. "Science, perhaps." "What do your people study?" Frank smiled and led him to a section with thousands of books. "Well, we have everything from basic chemistry to advanced theoretical physics. Are you interested in wormhole mechanics? Time dilation theory? Artificial intelligence design?" Veltar stared at the shelves in shock. These topics were classified military secrets in most alien civilizations. Here, they were available in a public library for anyone to read. "This book might interest you," Frank said, handing him a thick volume. "It's about faster-than-light communication theory, written by a graduate student at the local university." A graduate student, a human still in school, had written a book about technology that the Galactic Council's best scientists couldn't understand. Veltar spent weeks infiltrating different parts of human society. He visited schools where children built robots and designed computer programs. He attended university lectures where professors discussed technologies that could revolutionize space travel. He watched teenagers solve mathematical problems that would challenge the Council's greatest minds. The horrible truth began to emerge. The humans weren't hiding some superweapon or advanced technology. They weren't even trying particularly hard. What the Galactic Council considered impossible achievements were normal, everyday activities for humans. Veltar's final report to the Council was brief, but devastating. "The humans are not using their full capabilities against us. The defeats we have suffered were accomplished by part-time security guards, weekend hobbyists, and people who treat interstellar warfare as a minor interruption to their daily routines. Their construction workers are stronger than our elite. Soldiers, their children learn mathematics and science that surpass our advanced research institutes. Their teenagers build technology that we cannot comprehend. They do not ignore us out of arrogance. They genuinely do not consider us a threat worth acknowledging. To them, our mighty fleets are no more dangerous than insects buzzing around there. Colonies. Recommendation: withdraw all forces immediately and avoid attracting further human attention." The council chamber was silent for a long time after Veltar finished his report. Finally, Elder Tokmar spoke. "So we declared war on a species that treats starship construction as a hobby and quantum mechanics as elementary education." "It appears so," Veltar replied. Ambassador Zektar buried his face in his hands. "What have we done?" The answer came 3 days later when a single human ship arrived at Nexus Prime. It was a small exploration vessel, the kind humans used for routine scientific missions. Captain Ryan Kelly had finally received word about the war that had supposedly been happening for months. "Hello, Galactic Council," he broadcast to the station. "I heard there was some kind of misunderstanding between our peoples. My government sent me to clear things up." The council leaders gathered nervously in their meeting room to speak with this human representative. "Captain Kelly," Mordick said carefully, "That is, The Council may have acted hastily in our previous communications. Ryan looked confused. Previous communications? Oh, you mean that war declaration thing? Yeah, that was weird. Nobody really understood what you folks were upset about. We demand respect for galactic law, Zektar said weakly. Galactic law? Ryan laughed. According to who? I mean, no offense, but we never agreed to follow your laws. We don't even know most of you exist. This is actually the first time I've heard of your council. The alien leaders realized their ultimate humiliation. They had declared war on a species that didn't even know they existed. Look, Ryan continued, I'm sure we can work something out. My science officer found some really interesting crystal formations in the Andromeda Spiral. Want to see the pictures? They might be alive. And just like that, the human representative moved on to talking about his scientific discoveries, completely ignoring the political crisis that had consumed the Council for months. Later that day, the Galactic Council quietly voted to withdraw. Their declaration of war. The official record would show that the war never happened. New policies were created specifically to avoid attracting human attention in the future. On Earth, someone eventually processed the original war declaration. Junior analyst Mike Thompson filed it under Resolved, no action required, and moved on to updating the coffee machine maintenance schedule. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. Never pick a fight with a species that builds starships for fun and considers your greatest achievements to be elementary school projects. Humanity continued reaching for the stars, blissfully unaware that they had just redefined galactic politics simply by existing.